of my YouTube where shit gets real personal, okay? Stay tuned. So, tonight we're going to be discussing my situations, my rendezvous or whatnot with Aries. So, my son's father is an Aries. His birthday was March 30th. And he was spicy, different. But I'll start on how I met him. This is so awkward. So, first of all, I met him when I was 18 years old. And that was my very first Aries that I had ever met. And he was like very masculine. I was walking to pick up my niece or my goddaughter. She's my goddaughter. And he drove up next to me and he literally, I don't even think he stopped the motherfucking car before he had hopped out. And he was like real rough. One thing that I've noticed about Aries is they're not that good at dressing. Just to be honest, I haven't really met an Aries that just threw shit on. The females don't really throw shit on. They more so are always just sexy. Like they'll put on one dress, tits to be out, ass to be out, you know, but it's not really, you know, style and coordinated. They're very rough, rugged type of energies, right? So he had on this like this, you know, the jumpers that they wore back in the days. I don't know if you guys, that might have been a Jersey thing, but he had on like the little jumper thing. And he was like real short, but I'm short too, so it was cute and cool. I gave him my number. Well, in that same day, mad shit was happening. I should have paid attention to that very fucking day because motherfuckers was giving birth and everything. And I was just like, you know, Geminis, when we like somebody, we got to fucking blast. It could be hell freezing over. We leaving. Everybody good? I'm out. So I got his number and I went to help this girl at the time. A friend of the family's having a baby, so I went to go visit her. And then next door from her, another day, everybody in the household seems to have been fucking that same day because then the other person was having a baby too. So I literally went from one room to the next, and then he picked me up from the hospital. So I know the day that I met him because it's two of the friend of the family's baby's birthdays. Crazy, right? Should have known again. So I literally went to see him that night and I never fucking left. I mean, it was like that night I went to his house and I was there every day after that. Literally every day. And then the more and more time that we started to spend together, I started to notice how controlling he was. The first night it was like, okay, you're coming in the house with me, and I'm like, yeah, all happy and shit. You know, we love having companions or whatever. So I go in the house with him. We literally lay down, we go to sleep, and then I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and he's humping me. Whatever, we young, we hump, we fuck, whatever. Next day, he drops me off. I go home, and again, I get home and he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, what do you mean, what am I doing? I'm just chilling. He's like, come outside. I'm like, okay. I come outside. He's like, get in the car, let's go. All right, I love it. I'm 18. He like 19. He got a car. His father got a whole house. Let's go. We every night we go into his fucking house. He's making sure I got money in my pocket. He making sure I got everything that I need. Boyfriend from day one. We out here. We did that for like maybe a couple of months, and in between that time I was going to an aunt's house of mine, and I would stay there when I wasn't with him during the day, and then I would go back with him at night. So one day in particular, I can't really get into the specifics because I can't put anybody else into it, but one day in particular, he was going through something, so we wound up staying at my aunt's house. And He 3 o'clock in the morning, and I should have known again. 3 o'clock in the morning, he walking down the street. It's dark as hell. Again, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. And he walking down the street, and there's two people walking behind him, but he's like walking like really suspect. So I'm like, why the fuck is he walking so fucking suspect? Like he was scared, but he wasn't really scared. So I'm like, okay. So he turned around and he's like, what's good? And they like, oh, my bad, I didn't know it was you. They was about to rob him, but they knew who he was. I'm like, and you know, for Geminis, we like shit like that, because it's like, well, who is he that even the robbers turn around and walk the fuck away? Who was he? So now again, that was the first night. He spends the night. Cool. Now I met him in November, so this happened around December where that happened, that incident. And then January rolls around, and then again he's staying with me again. But every night is consistent. That's one thing about Aries. If they like you, they're on your fucking ass. If you ever question, you know how an Aries is when they like you, they're extremely intense. They want to see you every day. They're going to check on you. They're going to call you. They're going to make sure you have food in your pocket. They're going to fight for you. They're good, no wrong. They will fight their family, their friends. They will fight their mother for you. Do you hear me? When they love you, you are the fucking one. Their love is one of the highest loves that you can get from a person, but it's also extremely toxic because they become obsessed with you. But I'm going to get there. So, January rolls around, and you know, my aunt is getting extremely tired of us laying up in her house, so they say, or whatever. So he's like, listen, you're not leaving me, so what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do, you know, next? Because he's like, you know what, don't worry about it. So at this time, again, I'm in college. So I'm like, you know, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but my aunt doesn't want you here, and we on some Bonnie and Clyde shit. If your family don't want me at your house, and they don't want you at my house, we out here together. So he wasn't really from the streets, but he was like real street type shit. So I got home from school, and he had an apartment, and I'm like, who the fuck's apartment? Don't worry about it. The shit was fully furnished. The shit was fully furnished. Thank you, Ebony. The shit was fully furnished, okay? So, you know, we young. We still 18 years old. It's only a couple months later. And he's like, don't worry about it. You know, he gives me money. He's like, look, go get, you know, food. And, you know, get your friends or whatever. I'm going to get my friends. They can stay in the living room. Whatever. So I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, cool. Now, at this time, I'm 18. I'm fresh out of high school. I'm in college. I'm like, you know what? So this is what we're going to do. I want to have a baby. That's from the rip. I want a baby. And he's like, no problem. Mind you, again, he's into the streets. So he's coming in the house every day with bags and bags of money. I'm taking other people's kids, okay, and I'm taking them shopping, just period. Brand new babies. I told you around the time that I met him, 2 people had babies. So I'm taking people babies. I'm taking them with me with bags of money in my pocketbook, and I'm going shopping for the fucking baby. My mother had just had a baby too. It was crazy. Babies was taken care of when they was with us. So you know, we playing family. He got the baby carrier in the front. We're sold on the fact that we want a baby in 2 fucking months, okay? So and now the apartment wound up belonging to somebody. Y'all know how that should go. I ain't gonna get into the aspects of that, but the apartment wound up belonging to somebody, and of course we couldn't stay there forever, but that was an immediate fix to the problem that we were having of being separated from each other. So it was a temporary fix, though. Eventually we had to leave, and you know, I said, well, I'll go back to my aunt's house, and he can go back to his father's house, and we'll see each other here and there. Wasn't having it. That the very night that I left and I went to the house, I went out with my friends because my friends, because they lived there at the time too. And I went out, and this is the first night that I haven't spent with him. I go out. It's fun. He calls me and he's like, I hear music in the background. Where are you at? And it's like a local club that everybody was going to at the time. And I'm like, I'm here. He's like, oh, okay, I'm on my way. So I'm like, okay, he's going to come party with me. Cool. Cool. He's going to come party with me. He pulls up and I'm in the back. It's me and my friends. He's like, come here, let me talk to you for a second. So I walk to him. He's like, no, you really can't hear me, so you need to like come outside. This is the first time where I should have known. And he's like, get in the car. And I'm like, get in the car. He's like, you know, I be out here. I don't want to, you know, just stand out here. Okay, I don't want to stand out here. I want you to get in the car so we could talk in the car. And he got friends with him in the back seat. So I'm like, you want them to know our business? He like, they not nobody. We get in the car. I shut the door. He pulls off. So I'm like, where are we going? And he's not saying a word. And when I say he's not saying a word, he says nothing. And when y'all don't understand the intensity that he had over other people. Nobody else in that car said shit. And when I get to this story and y'all are gonna see how serious Aries men are and how much they don't fucking play. Okay, he pulled the fuck off. And I mean, he didn't just pull off. He like hit the gas. Everybody went back. Nobody said, hey, yo, nothing. It was quiet. He pulled up in front of my house and said, get out. I said, my friends is still at the club. You're not at the club. You go to fucking the house. I'll be back. That was strike one. So I found it extremely attractive that he didn't feel like I needed to be out, but I didn't pay attention to the red flags. So I go in the house, and then 3 o'clock in the morning, he comes back. Now, mind you, he never had his own car. The car that he was driving when I first met him was his father's car, and this car, I don't know whose it was. So 3 o'clock in the morning, he comes, and he's like, let me in. And I'm sneaking him in my aunt's house again. And I'm sneaking him in my aunt's house again. And then I have this pocketbook, and he's like, put this gun in your bag. And I'm like, okay. I put the gun in my bag, and he's like, let's go to sleep. Well, 5 o'clock in the morning, my uncle comes downstairs, and he's knocking on the door, and he's like, yo, did your mans have a car parked outside? And, you know, he's like, ask him why. And I'm like, why, what happened? He's like, because I need like parts out of this car if it's stolen. So he like, tell him to park it in the driveway. So he parks it in the driveway, and you know, whatever happens after that. So moving forward, he gets another apartment. Okay, he gets another apartment, and this time it's his apartment, and it's cool. You know, it's a 2-bedroom, and I think this may be around February-ish. And Valentine's Day come. His birthday is in March, but Valentine's Day we are inseparable again. By this time I've met all his family, and everything just seems to be going great. Now, family with Aries is very important, but nobody comes before the person that they love. This is the honest to God truth. You cannot beef with Aries person and think that Aries is going to take your side. So when I first met him, to rewind and go all the way back, because I skipped that part because it's kind of irrelevant, but it's not. But when I first met him, he was already dealing with somebody, and he told her that I was somebody that he was using for money. So she allowed him to date me, even though she didn't really know to the extent what we were really doing, you know? But I didn't know anything about her because he introduced her as his aunt, right? So now I am his girlfriend, all out to everybody. She is his girlfriend too. She's also a Gemini. Right? So now we have this apartment. We have this, not the apartment, it was a room. Okay, it was a room, I'm not gonna lie. It was a room. And I was there, and he was wild, and everything was wild, and I can't tell the whole extent of how it was, but it was wild, and it was very fun. But in that time, we wound up not being able to stay there no more because it was a little bit too much. Okay, so then we wound up moving again. Mind you, again, he never leaves my fucking side this whole, what is this? November, December, January, now we're in February. He never, the whole time we together. So March rolls around, and now the girl that he was telling me is his aunt, I'm starting to get to know the family, and the family is like, okay, sister, cousin, friend, you don't belong to nobody. Who the fuck is this? And now I'm hearing her talking to him like, but that's not what you said. And I'm like, why is she talking to you like that? And he's like, oh, you know, she's mad, you know. And I'm like, why is she mad? He's like, okay, so I got something to tell you. And I'm like, what? He's like, that's my ex-girlfriend. She's upset because I'm with you. And I'm like, wow, okay. So now I'm like, you know what? You handle that. I'm leaving. Have fun. Because I was still, even though I was up under him, I was still outside. So it was like, you cool. I started dating somebody else. I stopped talking to him for a day, and within the next day he had came, dragged me out my aunt's house, and went to try to fight my uncle for fighting him, for fighting me. It turned into a big ass fucking thing. Okay, and before you knew it, I was back at the motherfucking house. Okay, but he was extremely upset with me because I wanted to be with him. I mean, the other guy. He was mad that I was with him. But I chose him because I found out that the whole time you basically had a fucking girlfriend and you were lying to me. So however way we got back on that note, I wound up back in the room. And mind you, at this time, we're all young. So there is a bunch of motherfuckers in this room. Okay? He, again, a lot of people are scared of him. So motherfuckers are just, you know, bowing down. So we're in the room, and he shuts the door, and he's like, so you were talking to him? And I'm like, yeah. He cocked back and punched me dead in the face. I could have, like, I had to maybe pass out or get like lightheaded for at least like 10. That's how hard he punched me. He punched me, I fell back. And I came up, and now I'm crying. Everybody is running out the room. They like, oh shit. Like, and he's like, what the, like, how dare you be so honest as to say that you was fucking with, you know, somebody else? And I'm like, what are you talking about? You just told me. And he is irate. And again, I've never seen this side of him because we've been so lovey-dovey for the past couple of months. It's like, what the fuck? He lost his mind. He started yelling and screaming, and it just, he like started sweating and shit. So my best bet was to just shut the fuck up and stay still, and so I did. And that rant lasted for about 20 minutes, and then he sat down and he laid down and we went to sleep. And when he went to sleep, he went to sleep with his arm around me, and if I so moved, there was a fucking problem. So I literally slept like this with an arm like this the whole fucking night. Okay, and after that I fell back in line as if nothing ever happened, because bitch, you don't, there's no escaping it. Because you already know where my mother lives at, you already know where my aunt lives at, I already love you, so I'm not going anywhere. And I was wrong because the guy that I was dealing with was somebody that was very close to, you know, them, so I was wrong and he was wrong, but I was still wrong-er, so I just shut the fuck up. So now fast forward. Because now remember, I'm going back to I'm staying in the house or the room, I'm going to school, and I'm coming the fuck home. That's it. He don't even got to call me. I was on routine. We had to move. because for whatever reason, you know, we was kind of wild in that room. Because again, no, the moment wasn't always punch me in the face. That was when he got mad. Any other time, it was whatever you need, bitch. The money's in the bag. Go in the bag, take it, live your life, go see your parents, but be the fuck here at nighttime. Don't play with me. There was no locks on no phones. There was nothing of that nature. That's it, right? So okay, we had to move to the second room, and the second room we moved to, I don't exactly remember what the argument was, but we had an argument. And I don't remember what the fuck happened. I don't really remember what happened, but it was an intense fight. Anytime Aries and Geminis argue, it's intense. And it's intense because I said what the fuck I said, and they said what the fuck they said. So the argument got intense, and again, I tried to leave, and he grabbed me by my fucking hair and dragged me down the motherfucking hallway and shut me in the motherfucking room and told me if I moved, he'd kill me. I believed him. He always had a gun. So I did not fucking move. I waited till he left. But again, my dramatic ass, because I want you to feel bad for me, I acted like I was hyperventilating. He got scared. He called the ambulance. The ambulance came and got me. We go to the emergency room just so I could melon out, because again, I'm a little manipulative too. And if I want to change the scenario in this bitch, I will cry. So I went to the emergency room and I told them that I was hyperventilating, and you know, there was something wrong. And they were like, well, let's check your blood levels and see if everything is okay with you. Maybe you are dehydrated or something of that nature. So we're sitting there the whole time, and he's like, I'm sorry, and all this other shit. And then they're like, well, man, we can't give you nothing because you're pregnant. And I'm like, what? Yeah, I'm pregnant. So this is now me finding out in April that I'm pregnant. Or March. It may have been March. I think I found out in March, because I knew I was pregnant by his birthday. His birthday was March 30th, so March. Okay, I'm pregnant. Changed the whole fucking scenario. Because remember, I told you from the very beginning, we wanted a baby. Like, very early in, we had already decided that we wanted a kid. So now I'm pregnant. Ta-da! All the fights stop. You know, I'm chilling out. He's chilling out. He's buying me food. We're going places. His birthday, we go to New York. He buys me an outfit. He does all this shit for me. We're fine. Okay? We go from the room that we were staying in, and we get an apartment. Now we have a 2-bedroom apartment. We're planning a baby shower on a roof. I think that now I'm fast forwarding mad time, because there was nothing bad this whole time. I mean, there was absolutely nothing bad from March, when I found out, to June. Okay, now June, shit started getting real. But mind you, we're planning a baby shower because we dumb as hell, we young, and we don't know what exactly when we're supposed to plan this baby shower, right? But we planning it because we're happy and we got a baby, right? Young and dumb. So in the mix of all of this, we're planning the baby shower, and we're handing out flyers to this baby shower that's supposed to happen on the roof of the building where we live at. And maybe, I don't know why it was cold. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting it mixed up. It might have not been cold, but I think it was. Anyways, moving forward. We're handing out fucking flyers, okay? We're handing out flyers for this barbecue / baby shower that's supposed to happen on the roof. And a girl gets a hold of it. Now, mind you, I'm pregnant, so I'm in the house. I'm not going nowhere. He's going outside doing whatever he's doing, but I'm fine. I have a whole fucking apartment to myself. I'm still in school. I'm minding my motherfucking business. The girl finds the flyer. She knocks on the door. She has the exact address. She sees his name, my name, baby shower. She comes, knocks on the door. So she's like, hi, I'm looking for such and such. So I'm like, who the fuck are you, and why are you looking for, you don't look like the type of person that would be knocking on the door for my man, so what the fuck are you knocking on the door for my man for? She walks away. So at this time, he has another car, very big on cars, and I'm like, he comes in the house and I'm like, who the fuck is that? And he's like, oh, my car is in her name. And I'm like, well, why? He's like, I paid her. So I'm like, okay, no problem. Dumb. And something said, look in the car, because I never asked no questions. I didn't have my license, so I never asked no fucking questions. And I go in the glove compartment because I want to see the bitch address, because this is where Inspector Gadget starts to click. Even though he's coming in the house every night, when the fuck did he even get this bitch to put the car in her name? Where the fuck did she come from? Right? So now I'm looking through the glove compartment. One day we out because we're together a lot. Where I'm sitting in the car, he's outside the car, and I'm going through the glove compartment. He like, he's listening to music, and he's like bouncing outside of the car, and I'm sitting in the car. He like, what you looking for? So I'm like, nothing, I can't find he like, well, what you looking for? I was like, I think I left it in the glove compartment. And I take the whole title or something, it may have been a registration, and I stuff it down in my bra, and I go across the street. So I go across the street, and he sits in the seat that I was in, and he realized that I took it, and now he's coming behind me like, why do you have my stuff? What are you doing? And I'm like, oh, the fuck? Now I'm going off. I'm pregnant out to here, and I'm arguing with him in the middle of the fucking street, and he has my wallet, and he's like, give me back my fucking registration. And I'm like, let me just get my wallet. I'm leaving because you lied to me. This is somebody that you're fucking with. And we start fighting in the middle of the street on the main block. I mean, like fucking cats and dogs, because by this time I'm comfortable with him. We didn't already throw blows in between this time, so I'm used to fighting back. It's not a big deal for me. So he throws my shit in the middle of the street. We fighting, and I don't remember exactly what the fuck happened, but he did get. Okay, so there's a thing here where we were fighting. This happened that day, and he hit me so fucking hard that this tooth, or one of these teeth, went inside of my lip. It's a permanent mark here, right? So I went to the emergency room again, and this time I have to get stitches because the hole went from inside of my mouth here to out here. And he goes to the emergency room with me again. Mind you, my wallet is flat as shit. Everything that was in the wallet is crushed because it then got ran over by people who were paying attention to him whooping my ass, but ain't nobody do shit while he was whooping my ass, and I was pregnant. Get to the emergency room. They're like, we have to stitch you up. There's blood everywhere. This gangster hardcore ass nigga passes the fuck out as soon as they put the needle in my face to start to give me stitches. I mean, literally. I mean, he just fell straight back and died for a second. And now some of the doctors are helping me. The nurses is over here taking their vitals. And then they're like, something is wrong with him because his vitals are low. And then I hear the doctor like he's probably high. It just was fucking crazy. So now I go home, okay? My mother is fucking irate. Now, I'm not bringing my mother into this either because she would not have approved to be a part of this reading. I'm trying to keep third parties out. But my mother's fucking irate because here's her 19, I think I was 20 at 19. I think I was 19 at the time. A 19-year-old fucking daughter has a fucking hole in her face, and she's fucking pregnant, and what the fuck is going on, right? So, and this is just the fucking beginning, you guys. It gets so much worse. I stay. I get stitched up. I go home. Again, he's babying me. He's back taking care of me. He's doing everything that he's supposed to. The girl went and took the car back. He gave it to her. That wasn't a big deal anymore. She was gone. I never really figured out the full connection that they had because anytime I found out about somebody, they were gone. Okay? So, moving forward. Now, back to us planning this baby shower. I'm buying baby stuff now. I have money. He always has money. I have money. I'm buying baby stuff now. And this was a couple of days before the baby shower. I said I was going to go to I'm too hot for this shit. I said I was gonna go and get my hair done because I wanted, you know, the baby shower was in the next couple of days and I wanted to make sure that I had everything together. Now, mind you, this was the first of the month. So I go to get my hair done and that takes a couple of hours, and I come back and my house, or our apartment, is flipped upside down. The doors open, the furniture is everywhere, the baby clothes is on the floor. I don't know what the fuck is going on. I go down the street, I'm asking people that know, like, what the fuck happened? And they like, the police took your boyfriend. And I'm like, oh shit. Okay, now I know what the fuck happened. 20 minutes later, I get a phone call from a detective and they like, hello, can I speak? Is this Ashley? Mind you, I told you guys I was in college. So all my books, all my paperwork, everything with my name on it was in that fucking house. And the detective calls me and he says, hi, are you Ashley? I'm like, yes. He's like, this is the U.S. Marshal, and yes, we have your baby father, but I just want to know whether or not you were aware of what was going on. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm pregnant. You know, I went to get my hair done. I came back. My boyfriend's gone. My house is crazy. He's like, yeah, your boyfriend was selling drugs. And I'm like, really? I had no fucking idea. He's like, you didn't know anything. I'm like, well, I'm at school the majority of the time. I get home, I cook, I go to sleep, as you can see. He's like, okay, well, you can't stay there anymore. The landlord wants you guys out. You have to leave. Great. I've been living on my own all this fucking time. I have a baby shower next week in this apartment that I'm being evicted out of, and I have to go stay with my mother. So I moved back in with my mother, and my boyfriend is in jail. I'm 7 months pregnant. So I have the baby. December 2nd, beautiful baby, Sagittarius boy, pops right out, eyes wide open, holds his head up the whole fucking time. I wind up having the baby shower at my house because, of course, I can't have it on the roof anymore. And it's more realistic, it's more cheap, it's down to earth, it's a little ass cake. My mother did the best that she could. Ta-da, I have a baby. And now I'm in college with a baby. And may I add, that's one of the hardest things in your life, having to figure out whether or not you want to stay in school or whether you want to stay home and take care of your baby. I chose to stay home and take care of my baby. And then my man comes home 2 months later because, of course, the whole time I'm still taking care of him while he's locked up because ride or die Gemini. So he comes home and immediately he's like, bitch, you're moving with me. Okay, you're moving with me. We're going to my sister's house. Let's go. So we moved to his sister's house, who shall remain nameless. And I must say that it wasn't the best conditions, and he knew it, and I knew it, and there was no place for a baby to be. So we decided to move into a hotel. The best of our abilities, because again, he had just came home, didn't have any more money, so we had to start from scratch, and I then had to get a job. So I said, okay, I can't go to college right now because we both have to take care of baby. And at that time, he was trying to get himself back on track, however way he was getting on track. And we had to, you know, we had to keep our shit together. Now, with that being said, I started working. He went doing whatever he was doing, and life went on okay for about a month, maybe two. Am I exaggerating? Maybe two. And then he started going missing. Every once in a while, you know, I would go up to where he was and check on him, but I worked, you know, and I had a baby, so I couldn't babysit him, and he was coming in the house, and he was still taking care of everything, and all I had to do was use my money to take care of the baby. He took care of everything else, so everything was fine. My son had everything under the fucking roof, all the toys, all the things, and I didn't have to worry about nothing, not even nobody coming to bust in my room because now we're in a hotel. And then he started to go missing. And he would go missing for days. And I'm like, well, okay, rent's due. Where the fuck are you? And eventually it got to the point where I found out that he had gotten another girlfriend that lived directly across the street from where we lived at when all that shit started happening. So I called my aunt and I said, you know what? I don't want to be here anymore. And I packed my shit up and I left. Moved out, moved in with my grandmother. My grandmother had a big ass house in Orange. Wasn't a big deal. Whatever. I was always good. I always just like bad boys, okay? So I moved to my grandmother's and his ass didn't like that. He lost his fucking everlasting mind that same fucking night. When he no longer had control, he flipped his fucking wig. And when I say he flipped his fucking wig, he came there and he knocked on the door. And when my aunt answered, he pushed past my aunt with the baby in her hand, knocked her down on the motherfucking ground, ran past her, ran up a flight of stairs to my room, beat my ass, dragged me downstairs. By the time he got downstairs, my uncle was coming in. My uncle started grabbing him up. He's fighting my fucking uncle. I'm picking my aunt from up off the floor with the fucking baby in her hand. And now we're calling the cops. He is not a Sagittarius. He is an Aries. Now the police are called, and I, who definitely loves my baby father regardless, don't want him to go to jail. However, you push Auntie. Auntie was minding her motherfucking business. Auntie is a Scorpio. Auntie don't want nothing but peace. She ain't with the shits. She's holistic as fuck. You done push Auntie. So, and now the police come. They lock him up. He goes willingly. My aunt is asking me, you know, what do I want to do? You know, he beat you up. The police is like, you can't just let him keep living like, let you keep doing that to you. So you have to press charges on him so he learns his lesson. I'm in there boo-hooing, but I press charges on his ass because he needs to learn his lesson. Well, back then, pressing charges on a motherfucker didn't mean nothing, but you had to stay away from the person because he was home the next week. He came home the next week and he called and he said, you know what? I was wrong and I apologize. And I know that what I did to you was fucked up and you didn't deserve that. And I'm going to make it up to you on Mother's Day. I'm going to take your baby, our baby, and I'm going to take him to such and such's house, and I'm going to give you space. Cool. This was a couple days before Mother's Day, and he takes the baby or whatever, and I go do whatever it is that I want to do. And I'm out with my friends, which are his mutual friends, because we've been together so long now that our friends are entwined. So I go with them, and of course they're hoes. So we all, no, they press charges. You know, they press charges, and we still had to go to court together. But that shit didn't really hold no fucking weight. You know, they as long as you didn't call the police on that motherfucker again, he was free to skate. They ain't got no monitor on this motherfucker, so he's skating. So he comes home, he gets the baby or whatever. He takes the baby to wherever he goes, because I'm not one of those mothers that be like, no, you can't take my baby. No, take him. He's yours. Go. So he takes the baby, and I go out, and I just think I'm hot shit. You know, when we finally single and we start to get our ego back, and we're like, that's one thing I could say about him. I don't give a fuck what he was into though, because y'all probably like, he would never be able to take my baby. They don't fucking play when it comes to their kids, okay? Anything that ever happened, besides that incident with him pushing my aunt, and I don't feel like he really meant to push my aunt and make her fall, but my aunt was a little wobbly anyway. She fell like, okay? But they don't fucking play with their he never in his life did anything to harm my kid, and even when he had him, it was like always like, oh, we're going to family's house, or he was leaving him with his aunts or sisters. He never had my son in no harm's way. I never had a problem with trusting him with my son. So Mother's Day comes and he's like, yo, where are you? Come and get the baby. I'm like, okay. But what he didn't know was, of course, our friends were mutual, and my friends were telling me about the girl that he had moved in with. Remember, we never got past the fact that he left me in the fucking apartment. I mean, in the fucking hotel, and moved in with a bitch and just left me there with baby. Because that's how quick they switch up on you. If they find somebody else that they like, bitch, you're gone. But the problem with him being gone was there was a baby involved, and he cared about his baby. So, and a little possessive over the fact that I was the baby's mom. So, Mother's Day comes and he's like, pick up the baby. But the night before, remember, I'm out with my friends, and my friends are his friends, and they're telling me about the girl, and they're telling me that my baby is at the girl's house. So when he says pick it up, my sarcastic ass, I'm not thinking you saying, even though I know you probably telling me to pick him up from the grandmother's house, like you're going to meet me there. I go to the girl house. So I couldn't even have made it past the third, because she lived on like the third or the fourth floor. I couldn't even made it past the third or the fourth floor, and I heard him running up the fucking stairs. And meanwhile, while he's running up the fucking stairs, motherfuckers is running behind him up the fucking stairs, and he just starts beating the shit out of me. And when I say he's beating the shit out of me, he's beating the shit out of me like I did something to him when he called me to get my son in the first place. Whether or not you told me where to go, I knew where my son was at. So I was going to get my son because you said come pick him up. When I say he beat me down to my feet, like I was on the ground and he was stomping me, and then slid me down every fucking stair, and then just kept telling me to go. And I feel like it was more so because of the female that he was telling me to go, because I had already whooped her ass on the bus when I first found out about her yonders ago, before he had even moved in, because I already knew about her. She couldn't beat me, so this was him protecting her. So now I'm down the stairs, I'm outside, but I'm like, just get my son. But now I'm all, my nose is off. I'm about to go beat these kids' ass. Hey, yo, really? And y'all know I'm on live? So now, you know, I'm my nose is bloody. I'm all fucked up. And I'm in the store, which was across the street from where we're at. And I'm telling him, like, yo, just go get the baby. Like, I'll go home. I don't give a fuck. He's like, no, I'm telling you to get the fuck out of here. So he's still just steady punching me. I'm bloody. He's still punching me, and he's beating the shit out of me still. And I started to walk up the street. I couldn't take it no more. I'm walking up the street. His friends is walking up the street behind him, and they're telling him to stop. And I get to the corner, and I'm still waiting. I'm like, at this point, I'm going to just catch the bus and go home. And he's still like, yo, keep fucking going. And I'm like, well, where the fuck do you want me to go? He grabs me by my hair, and he punches me in the face. And I feel something moving in my fucking mouth. And it's my teeth. It's my two front teeth. They're completely knocked the fuck out from the root. On Mother's Day, that was it. And somebody calls the police, and he takes off, and I'm telling the police where the fuck he's at, and they are like going to the house, and it was just a fucking mess. But however, I wound up going home. I get the baby, and I knock on my mother's door with this baby. I'm all bloody. It's blood all over my fucking clothes. And my mother is like, what the fuck is going on? She's frantic. It's Mother's Day for her too. My first Mother's Day, her first Mother's Day. Yeah. And I went back. So I stayed with my mother for a couple of days, and I'm like, and he's saying all this crazy shit. He's saying crazy shit that my mother don't even fucking know. But he's like threatening everybody in the fucking house. He's like, yo, if you don't come with me right now, I swear to God, I'll burn that whole shit. I'll come in that shit right now, and I'll bliss that shit. So I'm scared. I know that he's coming for me, but I'd rather just take the baby and go with him, as opposed to fucking staying in the house and he making a big commotion. So I leave. He comes outside to pick me up, and I leave, and I go with him. And I'm with him for maybe about, when the fuck did I leave him? I was with him for quite some time. I was with him for quite some time, and then I got my teeth fixed, and then it was like nothing ever happened again. Everything went back to normal. And a couple months later, he got locked up. He was locked up for a minute. That time he was locked up for like maybe a year or two. During that time, I had finished school, so now I'm in my own apartment, and I'm doing good. I got my first car, I got my first apartment, I'm back in school again. By the time he comes home, I'm great, okay? But he comes home and he's back in my house again. Now, mind you, I didn't have boyfriends in between that. He didn't have girlfriends, but we're back together. We're a family. We're going to work this out. We're going to do this again. And he comes home and he's on parole. And I don't know how exactly I wound up dealing, like how we wound up getting back cool, but it was like on some ride or die shit. Like, okay, bitch, you're back. I quit my job. I was full-time his girlfriend, and he was taking care of everything, and shit was wild again. I can't even get into the content of shit that was wild. When I say shit got wild, it got wild. Like, he was coming in the house with like, it was wild. So finally I got pregnant again. I got pregnant again like a couple months after he came home that time, and we found out that I was having a miscarriage. And then I feel like it was like a little triggering for him or whatever. It was because he wanted that baby too, and he started to act out, and before I knew it, he was locked up again. And when he got locked up that time, I was like, okay, I don't want to stay here by myself. We had been doing so much shit, and I was afraid to be in the area that I was in without him. So I went back to my grandmother's house, and I met my husband. That's for Scorpio. That's for Scorpio, so we'll save that for another day. But I met my husband, and I never went back to my son's father. However, in the mix of all of that happening, I'm going to tell you a snippet of what happened to finally make me say, okay, never again. So when he came home from jail that last time, when I had the apartment, the car, you know, and the job, I had met a Leo. That's another one. I met a Leo, and the Leo was older. I was maybe like 21. He was like 35. Had a BMW. He was working for the city. He ain't had no kids. He had his own place. My son had his own room at his house, and it was everything that I could ask for in a man, but I still loved my baby father. So when my baby father came home, I put my baby father in my apartment, but from time to time, I slid out with the Leo. Well, when my Aries caught wind of me fucking with somebody else, he said, he had my baby father, who was the Aries, bought me an iPhone. Very first iPhone, you know, the shit with the button that still had the silver back that was like round. I had that. And he's going through it, and I used to sneak and text the Leo, because again, there was no sneaking, okay? We shared the same phone basically. But I used to use my Google Voice to text the Leo. And I think one of these days I was doing something and I forgot. I was putting my son in the bath, and I had forgot to lock the phone back, or unlog myself out of Google Voice. And my baby father seen the messages, and what happened was I had went missing a couple of days before that, and I had took my son, but he had went missing too. So, and it was during like one of those seasons where it was like a real bad storm in Jersey and all the lights went off. That motherfucker left me in the house with his son, and the Leo came and got me. And guess what? I spent the dark with the Leo, who had food and flashlights, and we played games, and he played with my son. And when he seen that was who came and got me, my son was in the bath. He shut the door, pulled me in the room, put a knife to my fucking throat, and said, bitch, I'm gonna kill you now. And I really was like, I thought it was like a game. I'm like, well, why would you do that? But the look in his eye was like, bitch, I'm serious. And I like, And the mix of like, cause he had it to my throat, but he was like standing behind me, and I'm like, yo, he really about to fucking kill me. But in the mix of me feeling like, oh my God, he about to kill me, I heard like he was going to like go across my throat, but I had my arm here, and you see the cut. So it was like this. So he cut my arm, and then my son ran in because he like cut me, and then soon as like it was like my arm was like wide open. So when he cut me, when he cut me, my son walked in, and he was like, he kind of went into like a cradle position. And that's when I noticed that there was really something wrong with him, and that he snapped from time to time, you know, because I had never seen him actually do that before. And now looking back, I wish that I would have known, but whatever, I didn't fucking know. So I moved on. And I just assumed that I made him crazy, and I never went back. And when he came home from jail the next time, he just seemed really lost, and I was pregnant, and I was happy with the Scorpio because the Scorpio was doing everything that I wanted him to do. And I got married to the Scorpio, and then we moved into a house, and everything seemed to be okay. And then one morning at like 3 o'clock in the fucking, like, I'm skipping phases because I got pregnant. And I got pregnant, and he came home, and he was like, damn, like, bitch, you really just left me like that. This, you happy? He's like, if you're happy, then I'm happy. But it was like he was going back and forth with my son's father, with my daughter's father, because he was like, you stole my bitch. And he was like, seriously, like, standing outside my house, like the side of my house. He was standing outside of my house with a gun, like, I'll kill him right now. Like, and after a while, he started to apologize, and he was like, you know what, if you happy, you know, he would rub my stomach like, you know what, if you happy, or if anything ever happens and you need me, I'm always going to be there for you. And he left, and he moved to Georgia, and it seemed like everything was okay. I was sending my son down with his father every now and then, and it seemed to be okay. And then one day I got a knock at the door, and it was his mother and his sisters, and they were crying, and I was like, you know, what the fuck is going on? And they like, he killed himself. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know, and that's why, and I've had to live with that and his son for the rest of my life. You know, and that's why it's very important that I talk to people, and I counsel people, and I tell people certain things. And yeah, that's why I tell people what I tell people, and I speak to people, and I tell them what the fuck. And because I could have died, you know, clearly he had an issue, and yeah. So yeah, that's my story with Aries, and that's only one. I'll tell another story about Aries because I had another after that. Next we have Taurus, but let me get a second and get myself together, and I'll click back in. Thank you.